Is Laura Blumenfeld, former senior policy advisor to the US State Department's Israel-Palestinian negotiating team. Thanks very much for your time this evening. I hope you managed to hear what Prime Minister Netanyahu was saying. What did you make of his address?
Headline, I was right. I think he's trying to say that the military approach has been vindicated. All along, the naysayers said that you couldn't free the hostages and take the military approach by decimating Hamas. And he's saying, look, it worked. We're bringing the hostages home. And I was strong in the face of all your questions and doubts. And the right-wing ministers who, everybody was afraid would bolt, the government, so far, it sounds like, although they have their principles, they're more interested in power because they're not going to leave Netanyahu's coalition. So, if this were a Shakespearean tragedy and the stage is littered with bodies, this is kind of the final soliloquy before the curtain goes down. I'm optimistic because the American president has a soft spot for hostages. So I think in the short term, the hostages will come home, the prisoners will be traded from the Palestinian side, and, inshallah, fingers crossed, the aid, at least 600 trucks a day will surge into the Strip.
But is it pride before a fall because the hostages haven't yet been released?
I don't think it's up to the two sides anymore. It's not up to Hamas or Netanyahu, which is why I think he made the speech. He's trying to take credit for something which is really being jammed onto him right now. On the Israeli side by Trump. Trump has had enough. He's an impatient man. And on the Palestinian Hamas side, Qatar and Turkey and Egypt are also fed up with the sort of, extended negotiations and bloodshed. Trump is calling in chits. He's on the phone with the president of Turkey saying, get me to yes. And then, of course, he's, on the phone every day, practically with Netanyahu. Right now, there's no such thing as no.
What about the balance between releasing the hostages but also keeping a grip on his government? The right of Netanyahu's cabinet saying tonight if Hamas is not fully destroyed after the hostages are released, then they will no longer give him their support.
Well, two things. One of the first sentences that Netanyahu said after he acknowledged the holiday of Sukkot, which again is the 2-year anniversary of the massacre, is that the hostages will come home, but the IDF will remain deployed inside the Strip, which is a major concession by Hamas. This is something new. It's the first time that they've been willing to let go of really their only bargaining chips while the Israeli troops are still stationed there. So that's the first thing. And second of all, Netanyahu is not completely dependent on those right-wing ministers. The leader of the opposition, Yair Lapid, has said, I will be your safety net. If you fall, I will catch you. You can do this and remain prime minister.
But of course, there are many other sticking points, aren't there? Hamas have not said that they will disarm. They've not said what their thoughts are about the transitional government and them not being included. So it's one thing to have the IDF still in Gaza, but if Hamas are still armed, then the war carries on.
Absolutely, and that's true. In the short term, we're going to see a win. Will we see long-term success? Not clear at all. First of all, the document that everyone supposedly is agreeing to is evolving, right? The plan that Trump presented to the Islamic and Arab leaders in New York changed under Netanyahu. He edited it and then Netanyahu said, okay, now we accept it. And Hamas accepted only part of it. That's the first problem. The second problem is kind of a bandwidth attention span for the president. Once the hostages are released, what about the other 19 points? Trump is kind of a deal guy, not a details guy. He wants the handshake, but is he going to sit there with the hair-splitting negotiations? I'm not sure. I can tell you that when I worked in the U.S. State Department on the Israeli-Palestinian negotiating team, we spent 3 days haggling over both sides over a simple comma placement. So I can only imagine the long diplomatic road ahead.
Indeed. Laura Blumenfeld, it always is good to get your analysis. Thank you so much.
Thank you.